Well, they're very unpopular because they're unpopular among Democrats because they lost an election. That is why people belong to a political party. However, I'm forced to point out that since the election and every special has been held, Democrats have won. So people are voting for us. I really don't care what the Gallup Party favorability is as long as we win elections. And by the way, Piers, we're going to win elections in Virginia like big. When I say big, I mean like really big. We're going to win in New Jersey.
This is an underrated point. Without a clear presidential nominee, the Democratic Party is essentially headless. Think of it like a ship with a crew, but no captain.
President. I think that future is just fine. Thank you.
I mean, it's interesting because Kamala Harris was unable to name a single person, or didn't want to, that she thought was part of this extraordinarily exciting group of people that could lead the party. Are you prepared to name some names?
I could name 7 names off the top of my head. All right, but then y'all named 7, and there's 3 more I didn't name. I have never seen a political party at a point in my entire life in politics, which is like 50 years, that has more talent than the current Democratic Party has. And that is a pretty much acknowledged fact among people who cover national politics and pay attention to national politics closely. And I don't think...
Well, give me a name.
You know, I mean, Vice President Harris, Whitmer, Bashir, Shapiro, Moore, Warnock, Poulos. I don't know if Harris is at the same talent level that these people are at. I'm talking about sheer, raw, naked political communication skill.
Translation, charisma is currency. You can have policies, experience, credentials, but if you can't sell it, you're toast.
But
all due respect,
go ahead.
When the
don't
first
have to have
name
respect, just do it.
When the first... That's why I like you.
Just do it. You don't need to respect.
When the first name you... I get it. Well, let me do it without respect then. The first name you gave me was Kamala Harris.
Oof, that's not just a political critique. That's a burn on late-night comedy, too. Double knockout.
It's actually why the Democrats are in such disarray, and also why late-night television is in such disarray in America.
I don't
the
think
second
Harris
part
was the first name I gave you.
It was.
I thought Whitmer was the first name I gave you.
No, you said Kamala first.
If she runs, it's fine. She's one of any number of people, and maybe she'll be better if she runs in 2028 than she was in 2024. But I would not consider her, in terms of expert communicators, in the top tier of current Democrats.
No, but that's the point. She's the first name you gave me, and she's a complete and utter dud.
I don't know if she was the first name I gave or what order I gave the name. I mean, how stupid is that?
She would not inspire me.
I gave you 7 names.
She would not inspire me.
I gave you 7 names.
Yeah, she wouldn't inspire me. She wouldn't inspire me to open a bag of chips. And she was a total disaster in the last election. It's why Trump won.
Here's where it gets spicy. Political debates often turn into branding wars. Harris isn't just being critiqued. She's being reduced to a vibe. Uninspiring.
Get out until July 21st, and Harris refused to say where she changed. You're exactly right. But I admit that 2024 was, I lay it right at the foot of the Democratic Party. But I don't know what that doesn't have anything to do with going forward, the fact that we have all of this talent, and all you want to do is talk about Harris, which doesn't make any sense.
Because she's the first.
Look at the staggering people we have out there. I don't know who the first name I mentioned was. I mentioned 7 names. It doesn't matter what order. I said I could mention 9, but this is a stupid argument over if it's the first or the 10th name I mentioned. It doesn't. I don't understand what you're talking about, Piers.
Well, I'm just saying that if the first name you give me is a complete dud, it makes me think that maybe there isn't a great plethora of brilliantly intelligent candidates who are going to ignite America.
I think there is. I think there is, and I think you're fighting the truth.
Okay, well, we'll see. Look, the proof, as always, will be in the pudding. Let me bring in Kadabu here. Look, you're one of the new wave Democrats running the Congress in Illinois. What does that mean? I mean, How are you going to galvanize America away from what Trump does very successfully, which is messaging, and secondly, has a core of common sense? People may not like him, they may not like the rhetoric, but when he starts talking about...
Sound familiar? That's the common sense pitch. Strip away the rhetoric, and Trump's core talking points sound simple, even appealing to a lot of voters.
As we saw at the last election, nod. And when he says, you know what, and also we're going to have no more men in women's sport, most Americans go, yeah, that's common sense. So what are you going to do which will tackle that Trump, away from the rhetoric, has a core of common sense that runs through what he says that resonates with people?
24 is that when people's material needs aren't met, they want solutions. And even if those solutions are bad, as I think Trump's are, they're at least not being gaslit about their economic situations. And I was really interested to hear Mr. Carville's names that he mentioned, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is packing stadiums in red states, by the way. Like, regardless of what you think about her, that should be something that Democrats would want to latch onto. That she didn't even pop up in those names is...
Boom! That's a generational clash in one sentence. Old guard versus new wave. And it raises the big question. Do Democrats win by doubling down on tradition or by ripping up the playbook entirely?
Don't resonate with people. Trying to run things through 5 different pollsters before you put out a message doesn't resonate with people. Trying to move to the right when the center should be housing, groceries, and healthcare for everyone, and with money left over, that's what the center should be. And somehow we're saying we should move even further to the right of it, when our grandparents would think that's the center as well. And it's time for Democrats to recognize that the old playbook is thrown out the window. We need people in power that understand the right, that also understand messaging, and they're not ashamed of their views.
All right, Joe Walsh, look, there's obviously a lot of debate going on between Democrats. That's why I got everyone here, actually, to talk about this. It is a fascinating moment in time for the Democrat Party. But I'm not hearing yet what the brave new world is that is actually going to be a successful election play in a general election. I've got no doubt that, as with all opposition scenarios, that the Democrats will win well in local, state, governors and so on. Of course they will. Everybody does. But when it comes to a national election in 2028, I would be really concerned if I was a Democrat right now about, well, where is this talisman or taliswoman who is going to ignite this party? It won't be AOC. It cannot be somebody who has her views or who has that voice, frankly. It can't be her. It definitely can't be Kamala Harris. It can't be somebody ancient like Joe Biden who can't string a sentence together. I think it should be somebody like a Bill Clinton, somebody who's a centrist, really, with common sense views, liberal sensibilities, but in the right way. But he doesn't sound like a screaming socialist lunatic. Your thoughts?
Well, I agree with a lot of that, Piers, but I also agree with Kat on a lot. Look, as someone who, former Tea Party guy, I became a Democrat 8 to 9 weeks ago because this is an unprecedented moment in American politics. My former party is a fascist party, but you're right, Piers, they won. So how do Democrats beat that? I think Democrats need authentic people. They need candidates who are authentic. I could give a damn what their communication skills are. Kat's right. I want a Democrat who can look in the camera, look at a bunch of people and say, this is who I am. This is what I believe. I don't give a damn if this pisses you off. And Piers, I don't care whether that person comes from the progressive wing or where I am, the more moderate wing. Democrats need a populist. They need a fighter. Trump, is a pretend populist, but Democrats have been AWOL during this populist moment. They need a fighter, Piers, wherever that comes from.
Well, they do, but Harry Sisson, they also need, I think James Carville himself said last week, you've got to, as a party, you've got to park the trans stuff. You can't keep telling Americans it's fine for biological men to compete. Well, Kat, you can roll your eyes, because I know the Democrats love to think in their quaint little way that nobody cares. Trust me, they care. right? When they hear
I am the
a party
only woman
say,
on this panel.
Well, hang on.
I am the only person here involved with recreational sports where I play with trans people, by the way. I'm the only woman on here that'll probably have a family in the next decade. I am the person that you are talking about that should be concerned about this, and I'm not, because this is a manufactured issue. It's a manufactured issue.
This is the problem. This is why you won't win elections.
How much?
Notice the pivot. When debates hit cultural flashpoints, they stop being about facts and start being about electability. Who's right often matters less than who can sell being right.
I can absolutely take that to the bank for you.
You are
will
so
not win
obsessed with
as
this
long as
and
you
aren't
keep trying to,
listening to the
as long as
woman.
you keep trying
You're
to tell.
saying that this is
as
hurting
long as
women
you
and
try
girls. Can you name 5
listen,
WNBA players?
I'm saying
off
if
the
you
top of
hang
your
around
head?
with your progressive mates, and you all boast about how many trans athletes you know and how it doesn't have any impact on women's sport, and then we all watch the Paris Olympics and we watch a biological male who had been banned from the World Championships for testing positive for male chromosomes beating up a young female Italian boxer so badly the boxer quit after 40 seconds, and that biological male
You are
wins
just
gold.
spreading misinformation at this point. There are plenty of athletes that have Michael Phelps is basically his entire body is made to swim. Like the fact that you're talking about common sense solutions, all this stuff, and then every single time you want to talk about things, you bring up trans people when they're just trying to live their lives is ridiculous. What we actually need to do to
has nothing to do with them living their lives.
Material needs. That is what's happening right now. We need to be using material needs are wrong.
Let me respond. I have nothing but respect for trans people. Always have said that publicly, loudly, and proudly. I want trans people to have the same rights to fairness, equality, and safety that all of us enjoy. Right? I've always said this. However, at the moment, what's been happening in the last few years is the trans rights lobby has been aggressively eroding women's rights to fairness, equality, and safety.
I am a woman who likes
and that's
women's
when I have a big
sports.
problem. And if you want to run something in America, you want to be an elected official, if you're going to run on a ticket that nobody cares and it doesn't matter, I'm telling you, you will lose. And your party, if they have a leader that also believes this bullshit, is also going to lose.
This is the nuclear button in political arguments. Believe this and you'll lose. It's less about persuasion, more about planting fear of defeat.
Well, I just think this conversation, I agree with, I just think it's so meaningless. Like, I think if the Republican candidate in Kat's district would run solely on trans issues, Kat would love it. She'd be so happy because she's going to talk about affordability and the issues that actually matter to people, not this like whole made up, culture war issue, and that it extends to the national scale. It absolutely is manufactured. Piers, this is so disingenuous.
My God, man.
Piers, listen. In 2028, do you think that if J.D. Vance ran simply on trans issues and you had like a Gavin Newsom talking about affordability, do you think that people would actually vote for J.D. Vance in that election?
Nobody's going to run on just trans issues. But if you think that Donald Trump didn't win... Well, hang on.
Wait,
let me respond.
We're trying to talk about affordability and common sense. You're talking about
Let me give you my considered...
Go ahead.
Me give you my considered answer, Harry, right?
Big moment. This is the thesis statement. Economy, immigration, and culture wars. 3 pillars like a political tripod holding up Trump's success.
Culture war stuff that you guys love to play down, but also love to fuel. So when there's a Sydney Sweeney ad comes out, you all throw your toys out the stroller and make it a huge story. But actually, people care about this stuff.
Nobody,
they do
I don't
not
know a single
want
Democrat.
Trans athletes in women's sport.
I don't
James
know a single
Carville is
Democrat.
right about this. I'll come to in a moment. But you're so wrong, you guys. And if you think this is a winning proposition...
Piers, I don't know a single Democrat on your Sydney Sweeney thing who actually is angry at the ad. You know me. We've talked before. I love Joe Biden. I'm as Democratic as you can get.
I've had them on my show.
I couldn't care. Well, then they're not
Lamont
representative
Hill
of the
was
Democratic
literally
Party.
spitting blood.
Then Piers, listen to me when I say this. They are not represented. They are not representative of the Democratic Party. You talk to your average Democrat on the street. You ask them about the Sydney Sweeney jean ad. They're on their way to work. They don't give a shit. They couldn't care less if she's wearing jeans in an ad.
You guys are so wrong. Harry.
Well, wait, I'm saying, Piers, I'm saying the opposite of what you're arguing right now. I'm saying I don't care about the ad. I don't care.
Harry, you're wrong. Let me tell you why I think you're wrong. Respectfully. or not respect
ahead.
it. You can play the James Carville thing of saying,
No,
I don't
I
care
like
about
the
your
respect,
him. That's
Piers.
fine.
I like the respect.
I think this. I think it's a number of things. If it's J.D. Vance in 2028, he'll run on economy and immigration, probably fewer foreign
he'll
wars,
lose.
all the things that made Trump popular. But he'll also run hard on the culture war stuff if you lot are still running on absolute nonsense.
Piers, let's cite our friend James Carville. It'll come down to it's the economy, stupid. Donald Trump in 2020 tried to run on culture war issues. There were Republican senators in 2020 who tried to run on culture war issues in their states, and they lost because the economy was failing. The economy was failing the average hardworking American. So if J.D. Vance in 2028 wants to run on the economy and immigration, he'll lose because people are outraged by what inflation going up, people being kidnapped off the streets by masked agents. And if he wants to throw the culture war issues
Well,
in
you
there,
were 3.5
he'll
years
lose
away
still.
from that election. I would wait and see.
Yes.
I'd wait and see how that plays out. James
Hey,
Carville,
Piers,
I'm going to James. Let me get
no,
hang on,
Piers,
James.
I'm just
I
gonna
want to go to
say-
James because James.
Did you catch that? Inflation plus kidnappings plus culture wars equals the new cocktail of fear politics. It's dramatic, but drama moves votes.
Culture
Yes.
war fighter on the right. Republicans throw out this stuff and Democrats never fight back. And it matters. And it did cost them. It all matters. The transgender issue matters. And the great irony is most Americans are where Democrats are, where you are, Pierce, on the issue. Transgender Americans should have full rights. Let them live their life in peace.
Yeah.
And we embrace them all. When it comes to transgender women in sports, man, the competition's got to be fair, period. That's where most Americans
That's it.
are. Democrats need to fight that fight because most
You know
Americans
where we
are
have
with
most of
Yeah.
our data about transgender.
Yeah, and by the way,
abilities
the idea
from the
Democrats do not.
And the
The
military
idea that
has
Democrats
shown
do nothing.
that there is not a
Yeah.
physical benefit. Like this is
Oh,
our
it's complete
U.S.
nonsense,
military.
Kat.
This is just data from the U.S. military of soldiers who have transitioned.
It's nonsense. Of course, men have. Okay, so let me take your argument to its logical extension. Why don't we make the Olympics gender neutral? One gender, anyone can enter any race. You up for that?
I think there should be plenty of gender neutral sports, frankly. I mean, I love doing that in kickball leagues.
No,
I'm pretty good at it.
Sorry, you're just saying you just said there's no physical advantage for men. So let's have gender neutral Olympics where you can be male or female and it's all in one gender neutral sport, right? Would you do
Okay.
that for the whole Olympics? Yes or no?
Sure. I'm not in charge of the Olympics, but
Great.
sure.
You've just literally ensured that no women would win an Olympic gold medal again, with the possible exception of equestrian and
Whoa, that's a slippery slope argument on steroids. Allow this and women vanish from Olympic history. It's extreme, but it's designed to stick in your head.
The Olympics are going to be gender neutral, says Kat Abu. I'm not voting for you in a million light years. James Carville,
I don't think you live in my
As you
district,
said
Piers.
last week. You know what? If your district could hear you talking about gender neutral Olympics, they think you were insane. James
I'll
Carville,
make some
last
merch
week
for
you
it,
said, well, look, let's go
I'm
to
sorry.
old James as you ridiculed him, but actually one of the smartest guys in American modern politics for the last 40 years. James, you said last week that Democrats have to let this trans stuff go. So we're listening to two young Democrats here, making it clear they don't think it's a problem. And by the way, we should have gender neutral Olympics. What is your reaction?